Why is the right jack in cribbage also called his knobs? Before we got married, my husband taught me cribbage as his way of showing me how important our relationship was to him. One of the points in cribbage is for having the right jack, or the jack whose suit matches the flip card. There are two, that I know of, alternate names for this card. One is his knobs, or maybe his knobs. The other is his heels, which is only used if the flip card is the right jack. The points scored are declared as 1 for his knobs or 2 for his heels, so we figured that knobs must refer to a body part. My thought had been head, because head and heels are often related this way, but the plural confuses me. My husband thinks knobs must be British slang for knavish naughty bits. I can't seem to find a suitable answer. Why is the right jack called his knobs? Edit. It seems that his knobs and his nibs are also variations of the name, with, I believe, his knobs being the most common. Also, sometimes his nibs is used instead of his heels.
Knob. There is some dictionary support for the term knob as British slang that means either head or a wealthy and important person. Etymology gives only one history of the term and says it means head, see point 1700, variant of knob, QV. Wiktionary suggests some other etymologies, both of which highlight that the term refers to someone of high rank. From nobleman or member of the nobility, doubtful, from white knob, 18th century, or whitehead, referring to the powdered wigs used by those affecting upper middle class status. Wiktionary also lists possible definitions of knob that include, besides a slang term for genitalia. Slang, the head, somewhat archaic, used in one version of the nursery rhyme, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got and home did trot, as fast as he could caper, to old Dame Dob to mend his knob, with vinegar and brown paper. Since there is no one definition, it is possible that the meanings are related. For example, head is a literal place that is higher up, and someone who is important is figuratively higher up. Despite the multiple definitions, one cribbage site gave some history, mentioning that knob is the term for noble or superior person. Depending on the definition used, the term is either from around the late 16th to early 17th century. Since cribbage was invented around this time, knob could refer to either one of these meanings. Whichever meaning it refers to, either the figurative or literal definition of knob meaning head or important, the rules of cribbage build upon the notion of importance. The knob jack, or right jack, as it's also known, is essential for scoring a perfect 29 hand, and also affects discard strategy. You should try to avoid throwing a jack to your opponent's crib if possible. So the knob jack is a strategically important card, and its name possibly derives from this. Nib. Kit mentioned that some people refer to his nibs, or nib instead of knob. This is another somewhat accepted term that has similar origins. There is, however, some debate about which is correct. Throughout cribbage history, the term nibs and knobs, or his nibs and his knobs, have been interchangeable. However, with the rise of Cribbage Inc. and its lesser president Robert A. Nibsmonger Laird, many serious cribbists among us have begun to research which one is the correct one. Although most have reasoned that knobs is the correct term, many, most notably the Nibsmonger himself, refuse to yield nibs. Many a cribber has argued in vain to come up with a solution, and the debate rages on to this day, and probably will until the end of time. Whichever term is historically accurate, nib has a similar meaning as the slang knob. Wiktionary says that one definition is slang, UK, an important or self-important person. This is slightly different from the aforementioned definition of knob, but it still seems to refer to someone who believes he is, or is, important. The term, his nibs, has entered into the vocabulary of some, which lead one person to ask for its origins. This is a mock title used to refer to a self-important man, especially one in authority. Also, nib itself was once used as a slang term for a gentleman, as was another old slang word still to be heard, knob, and these could very probably be connected. Several early examples of the latter are spelled nab, and his nabs is a variant recorded form of his nibs. It seems the vowel was highly fluid, not surprising considering the different dialects and periods it has come through. The last point brought up in this article may point to the reason there is a nib and knob debate. Vowels have come to be pronounced differently over time.
While the two are quite related, though on the back end of things, as it were, the German term nabe, nab, and the English term knave, Middle English, from Old English knafa, akin to Old High German nabo boy, first known use, before 12th century mean the same things, when it comes to playing cards. Knobs, his knobs, his knob, nibs, his nibs, and nib are all respectively declining, and likely chronologically so, variants of nabe with anglicized respellings. The terms right jack and left jack interchangeable with the terms right bower and left bower in games like euchre__, also borrowed from German and German card games, skat and its like, bower in English translating from Bauer in German, meaning farmer, as opposed to nabe equals lad boy, in the sense of an innocent, and knave equals 1 archaic. A boy servant. B. A male servant. C. A man of humble birth or position. 2. A tricky deceitful fellow. As a related aside, Bavaria, or Bayern in German, Visavis Bauen, means land of the farmers' lands, or farmerland. Why Jack, then? In the game of all fours, Jack is the name of the point awarded for winning a trick containing the knave of trumps. It was therefore also applied to the knave of trumps itself in this game, quoted in Cotton's Complete Gamester of 1674-80. Later it also meant any of the knaves, ref. Martin's English Dictionary of 1749. The word Jack also had a common man as one of its meanings. When it was felt necessary in the middle of the 19th century to label 2 or 4 corners of each card with an index to indicate its value, the makers naturally picked the first initial of 2 court cards giving the indices K, for the king, Q, for the queen, and the first 2 initials of knave giving KN. Obviously this was confusing, so by using an alternative term for a common man which was also associated with the knave card, Jack, we end up with court indices being an unambiguous K, Q, J, Pax Do. Exist with initials K, Q, KN, but this was a short-lived experiment which presumably didn't sell well. At first Jack was considered a lower-class term, ref. Dickens's Great Expectations, 1861. Estelle says mockingly of Pip, he called the knaves, jacks, this boy, but it gained acceptance while knave became obsolete. Modern English usage has knave now left with just one of its original meanings, a scoundrel. This URL. As for his heels, comma, your any guess underscore is as good as mine.
Nibs as used for the turned up card being a jack. Nobody is a card in your hand or crib that is the right suited jack.
If you want to support the channel, please consider subscribing.